Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Show. My name's AJ Gels. How y'all doing? It is time once more for the weekly show. This week's going to come out in two parts. So this part is going to be, part one, as it will be henceforth called. Will be out. Right now you're watching it. Obviously, it's out right now. So part two should be out, probably not later tonight, just because I'm probably not going to be in the mood to do another news video. I'll probably expect it out tomorrow, Sunday, and all that. But I decided to split this week's show up into two. So this one's going to be a little different format than usual. We are going to be taking a look at a couple articles, but as I kind of stated in the title, we're going to be talking about the rumors surrounding the upcoming Dragon Age game. And then, you know what, I'm gonna be kind of moving into a little bit of a rant at the end of this. That's just kind of talking about the industry and everything. That's just some weird things that I've been noticing lately, and it's just kind of one of those that's just kind of been peculiar to me, having me raise my eyebrow and whatnot. So either way, like I said, this video is going to be a little off of the normal structure, and the next video is going to be more topical and article to article. And I think we might take a look at the new trailer for, I think it's called Fallen Jedi. I think that's been released. So that's what to expect tomorrow. So just little heads up about all that. But either way, I'm sorry. I'm kind of thinking, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I can't remember what it was. Either way, we're going to hop into the first article, and that is Dragon Age 4 is apparently reportedly being influenced by a canceled project. This is an article by Colin Stevens of IGN. Also note, some of these articles are probably going to be kind of redundant. I want to go over three articles that are very similar just to make sure we hit everything about this, because this is a rumor that, in my opinion, look, I said this about Anthem, that they needed to nail Anthem or that BioWare is screwed. You can say they kind of did, kind of didn't with Anthem, but you know what? I think now if they mess up a Dragon Age game after they messed up a Mass Effect game, which, again, say what you want about that Mass Effect game, I still stand by it. I say it was a good game, but as far as a Mass Effect game goes, and as far as BioWare's quality goes, no, that was subpar for them, and I think subpar for the Mass Effect franchise. But I still stand by it. That wasn't a horrible game. And then they had Anthem, which, let's be honest, has been dealing with a lot of issues that comes from... I honestly think a lot of it has to do with the fact that developer has never made a game like that. They're not used to it. I would argue that's a single player game that was forced to fit into a totally different mold, and it didn't work. And now we're going to see Dragon Age probably forced into the same thing. But either way, let's read the articles, and I'll kind of riff as we go. So like I said, this first one's up on IGN. Article by Colin Stevens. The upcoming fourth entry in BioWare's Dragon Age series was reportedly rebooted in 2017 and is allegedly influenced by a canceled Dragon Age project the studio had potentially been working on since 2015. Kotaku reports that the current version of Dragon Age 4 began development under the codename Morrison, while the canceled project was known by the codename Joplin. Morrison and Joplin wasn't John Morrison? Wasn't John Morrison in a band? Joplin? Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to think of the Doors. Either way, just don't listen to me. I'm losing my mind. Morrison is reportedly being made on Anthem's tools and codebase, and is planned to have a, quote, live service component. Yay! Designed to sustain long-term gameplay and revenue. Basically, it's this games as service, pseudo MMO, games like you know what? Look, I'll maybe this is something that kind of I'll kind of grab onto a little bit more later into the video. But maybe I have some sort of weird optimism with the video game industry that I think everything's gonna work out. It's one of the weird things about me. I have it about the video game industry that I really don't have about a lot of other things. So I'm usually fairly pessimistic. But for some reason, I always hold out hope that the industry will right itself, that at the end of the day, it's going to be about making games. But here we are again with this talking about this live service component. Dragon Age has never been about that shit. Dragon Age has been a single-player experience, has been a traditional Western RPG, and they've been, honestly, great games. Hell, I still like 2. I still think it's worth playing. I think Inquisition was great. 1 is still talked about to this day as being one of for as good as it is. You know, they don't need a live service component. I mean, hell, Dragon Age Inquisition had an online portion that I don't think anybody played. So I think turning a Dragon Age game into more like a live game won't work. People won't play it. The fans won't come back because they don't want that. They want a traditional BioWare RPG. They're not going to come back for some live service game. And now you say live service component makes it makes it sound like the entire thing won't be that sort of pseudo MMO. But hell, I don't know with EA right now. I don't know what the hell we can trust here. Sorry, let's keep going here. The current project is reportedly being made in BioWare's primary Edmonton office. Some BioWare developers allegedly said it's possible a Dragon Age game built on Anthem's codebase could have an offline structure. However, it appears the next game will be online only, but could largely still be experienced by a single player. See, that's what I was talking about. That's why I'm sitting here going, I'm getting mixed signals here. Let me rephrase. I'm getting mixed signals here. Like it said here, have a live service component makes it seem like there's going to be a live aspect and a single player aspect. But here, this sentence leads me now to go on and says it's online only, but it could largely be experienced by a single player. Okay, like Anthem. But even then, in Anthem, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm almost getting my ass kicked for soloing. It's punishing me for soloing. No, it wants me to play with other people. It wants me to buy stuff with money. It's trying to force me to put more money in past my $60 or however many dollar an initial investment into the game. Now, look, another grander point that I'll get to in this. People get pissed off with EA because they're really trying to move into this kind of game as service model, this sort of making money post launch. I mean, we saw it when what was it with EA and I think it was Respawn. Well, actually, I guess it was this new Star Wars game. Actually, I believe it was that started as an Amy Hennig project. You know, Amy Hennig, one of the minds behind Uncharted, and she was trying to make an Uncharted, like a story-based shooter in the Star Wars world, which I think would have been great. I think it, would have worked, especially with her behind it. And they axe it and turn it into something almost completely different. Again, if this is the same project that I'm thinking, I could be. There's so many Star Wars projects out there. I could be getting one or two of them confused here, so feel free to correct me on that, but it really looks like EA's trying to push their way into a more microtransaction based or post-launch payment based sort of games, and people are getting mad about these, this is one of those that I'm like, yeah, I don't like it when every game you make is like that, but I understand what they're doing, what they're trying to say. Look, they're trying to say, we're trying to make money beyond the launch. We're going to try, we're trying to keep the game's longevity up so we can continue to sell you shit. I get it. They're a company. At the end of the day, EA's a company. They're in it to make money, not to entertain us. But I would argue you make more money by entertaining us and keeping us happy. And people are really pissed. I mean, hell, how many times have we seen these surveys coming out that's saying BioWare is one of the most hated companies? I don't even think that's in the video game industry. I think they're one of the most. Or did I say BioWare? I meant EA. Sorry, EA is one of the most hated companies. Just flat out, people largely hate them because they look at them as some giant, mindless, soulless, and kind of corporation. I could talk about 2K in a very similar light. And hell, I know it seems like I'm in the rant portion right now. This is kind of pseudo rant right now. Wait till we get into the later bits. 2K is a very similar thing with like the NBA 2K games. You can see it in the WWE games that they're making. That they're really pushing these. Well, if you want a really good character, well, you gotta spend real world money. You get a whole bunch of VC so you can fast track and upgrade your character. Otherwise, it takes for freaking ever to do it on your own. It's one of those. There's nothing wrong with trying to make money. But do you have to be such scumbags about it? I think that's what's pissing people off, and I don't get why pissing people off is your strategy. Either way, I'll get more into that later. I'm sorry. You know me. I have trouble kind of holding off on things. I try and do too much all at once. One individual close to the Morrison project says its main story will be designed as a single-player experience, and multiplayer elements would ideally keep players engaged for post-launch content. You want to know how you do that? You make a good game, or how you keep players engaged post-launch. You make a good game that people want to play over and over and over again. Usually you see that with RPGs. And then launch really good, or like 2 or 3 really good expansions. Which Western RPG did something like that? It's one of the most highest selling games in recent memory. I believe it was made by a Polish studio. It's a game that I always, tote like it's, like it's the Holy Grail. Oh yeah, it's The Witcher. The Witcher 3 kicked ass. So many people bought that thing. Hell, I know multiple people who play it to this day. Hell, I still play it to this day. It kept me coming back and back and back and back and back. I bought season passes. Hell, I bought the physical editions of the 2 expansions, mostly because I wanted the Gwent deck. Like, I have real life Gwent decks because of that. Of course I bought those. Because they made such a good game, it made me want to buy the expansions. Not this come back and keep playing multiplayer elements or whatever, and especially multiplayer elements in a fucking Dragon Age game, are not gonna bring people back. And also, to the writer here, you see right here, you say you're acting like it could have an offline structure, but it appears it will be online only. But then say the story is designed as a single player experience, and then there's multiple multiplayer elements added. Pick a lane. Is it multiplayer focused or single player focused? You pick one. Sorry, that's a pet peeve of mine. I'm already in a little bit of a pissed off mood. Some alleged ideas for this multiplayer content include companions that can be controlled by other players in a drop-in, drop-out fashion. That could be cool if I could keep it so, well, that it's only friends come in and play as the companions. I mean, that could be cool, I guess. And also that these companions are characters in the game. They aren't like, oh, here's my character with their lead, and their own custom character. No. Say, I'll use Dragon Age Inquisition characters. Say I'm running around with like the Iron Bull, and my buddy's like, "Hey AJ, you want to play Dragon Age together?" Yeah, okay. And he comes in, drops in. So I'm playing as the Inquisitor. He's playing as Iron Bull, and then throwing 2 other companions. I say Iron Bull because he's one of my favorites. I'm sorry, I love that big Canary bastard. Okay, that could be cool, I guess, but if just random people are going to drop into my game and drop in with random characters that aren't important to the plot, no, that's annoying. I'd rather play... No. Or that quests could be changed based on the choices of players across the globe. No! Son of a... Ultimately, there are many unanswered questions about the game's multiplayer components, though some involved reportedly believe it's likely to change multiple times before launch. How terrible of an idea is that to change things so much before launch? I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda had a similar issue. If anybody remembers all those reports that said a majority of Mass Effect Andromeda's development went into the final, I think was within the last year before launch? It's not a good... Come up with an idea, lock it in, and make that game. Don't try and rush... Don't start developing a project, cancel it, make a new one, and rush it because people are waiting for that old project that you already spent time on. No, take your time. Here's how, again, selling games shouldn't be that hard. I'm sorry. I got so much going through my head that I'm kind of stumbling over it here. Selling games shouldn't be that hard. And this is what I always say. Make a good game. I mean, it's almost that terrible baseball movie that everybody loves that I hate because I'm a cynical asshole. I get it. James Earl Jones walked into the cornfield and disappeared into the Field of Dreams. Sorry, I'm such a son of a bitch. If you build it, they will come. If you make a good game, people will fucking buy it. It's not that complicated. I mean, I get it. You want to tell me, well, business is more complicated than making a good product. You know, it's blah, blah, blah. Fine, but video games, when has anything been more important than a good game, in my opinion? I don't understand this. I'm sorry. I need to cool my head down a little bit. Whew. Okay. Where was I? Interestingly, the prior Dragon Age project, Joplin didn't seem to have these multiplayer components, and was allegedly on the right track prior to the team being pulled into Anthem's repeatedly troubled development. Joplin reportedly began development in 2015 after Inquisition's Trespasser expansion was finished, with part of Inquisition's team working on Joplin. Others moved on to Mass Effect Andromeda. Joplin reportedly had players controlling a group of spies in Tevinter Imperium, the oldest remaining human nation in Thetis that is ruled by wizards. Honestly, that would be really cool. I don't think we've ever... I'm trying to remember the original game, which I haven't played a whole hell of a lot of. I have it, I just haven't played a lot of it. I don't think we really saw Tevinter. You know, we're playing more in the south, around Orlais. We saw a lot of that in Inquisition. I'm trying to remember the nation right next to Orlais. Oh my god. We saw Orlais, the Free Marches, and for some reason Westeros is the only thing that's popping. God, you feel free, bash me for my lack of Dragon Age knowledge right now. But a really cool idea, and like the idea of, like you're playing as a group of spies. That could be really neat too. Choice and consequences were reportedly a major focus. Okay, welcome to most modern RPGs. And there was allegedly an emphasis on repeat play, with areas changing over time and missions branching based on players' decisions. Much of the game would allegedly would center on heists. Holy shit, yes, do that. And the development team was interested in having players be able to persuade or extort guards using systematic narrative mechanics. The Joplin team reportedly included executive producer of Dragon Age franchise Mark Dara and creative director Mark Laidlaw. I think that's how it is. The team was allegedly working with a set of established tools that had a feasible scope for the game in mind and had several ideas that excited the entire team. Leaders were also seemingly committed to avoiding mistakes made during Inquisition's development. I'm not sure what mistakes they're talking about. I mean, maybe Inquisition was a tad too ambitious. I really liked Inquisition. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it, and a lot of the like leading the Inquisition and everything. I thought that was really cool. But honestly, this game sounds really neat. I think from other articles that I think we'll get to, they've said that they kind of dropped the scope for this one. They tried to make it a lot less expansive, but in making that much more of a by keeping it more in one geographical location, it allowed them to do more with the story and allowed them to do more with other things. So it's one of those that you're losing size in one area, but you're gaining a more in-depth sort of thing in another. I'm trying to think how else to explain it. I think it's kind of like how I've described Cyberpunk 2077 to The Witcher 3, where The Witcher 3 is just so expansive. 2077 is kind of like it's more about up and down exploration rather than out across the giant vast land, if that makes sense, because you're with all the buildings and whatever. That's kind of how I describe how this is sounding. Like they had a much tighter game, but within that sort of tight scope, there was a lot of stuff you could do. And it's kind of what I'm trying to get at. A former BioWare developer that worked on Joplin allegedly called the project among some of the best work experiences, quote, they'd had, saying the team was working towards something, quote, very cool, unquote, that was hugely reactive and smaller in scope to Inquisition, but bigger in player choice and depth. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, Joplin was allegedly put on hold in 2016 when BioWare moved the team to Andromeda's reportedly troubled development during its last few months. Joplin was later purportedly canceled in October 2017, with most of the staff moving on to Anthem's similarly troubled development. Huh. So you had 2 straight games of similarly troubled development. Okay. And those 2 games, which, 1, have not done exceptionally well, 2, don't have great reputations. So you think, are you thinking third time's the charm? Again, I get what EA is trying to do. They're trying to dial in the proper formula here, but I think they're going to kill off one of the biggest Western RPG studios. Or I think I started that sentence trying to say one thing about BioWare and ended up saying something else. I'm not sure why I mean, it's not like I've not mentioned any JRPGs, so I'm not sure why I'm mentioning Western RPGs here. Sorry. Into the weeds again here. I mean, it's almost like they're sacrificing one of the biggest, best-known RPGs. Hell, this is the studio that fucking made Knights of the Old Republic. What the hell? And hell, they could do a third KOTOR game and still screw something up under their current ideas. I don't get this. And again, it's got to be something more than money here. Because clearly this is not a smart move. Because it's just going to piss people off unless they're expecting people to not pay attention to any of this. I don't know if that's it. I might go into something a little bit, kind of into this a little later, but unless they're expecting people just to go, oh, cool, a new Dragon Age, then get home and go, oh, this sucks, and go, haha, we already got your money. I mean, what the hell? I mean, the original idea, Project Joplin, was really cool sounding. I would have loved that game. I think that would have. I think the last couple Dragon Age games, 2 and Inquisition, Inquisition less so, but 2 is very controversial among fans. Or I say controversial as in, basically what I mean is I know people who really like it, and I know people who really hate it. So again, it's one of those that's kind of not controversial. That's not the right word. Contentious, I guess. I don't know. And then Inquisition, I think more people enjoyed that one, but I still think that there's still some dissenters. I think this game really could have unified everyone under the Dragon Age banner again. And EA's just gone, nah. What people really want, they want Destiny, but as a Dragon Age game. No. What the okay, I'm sorry. My blood pressure's getting a little high. I'm getting a little mad. I'm just going in circles now. I'm trying to come up with a point that I was, a point other than just outrage. What I'm saying here. See if you can maybe grab some semblance of sense out of that last little chunk of that. Well, yeah, again, it's just what I'm saying. It's just Joplin sounds like such a good idea. I think that would have made some good money. I think it would have gotten people to actually, like you again. But they just decide, no, let's just keep pissing people off. I mean, hell, I think by now it's getting close to the point where even if you're expecting people to not pay attention, more and more people are going to start paying attention because people are going to keep making us think about this. Okay, though the newer Morrison project seemed to largely start from scratch, some involved with the project claimed Joplin's vision will at least partially shape it. After the reboot, Laidlaw and other veteran Dragon Age staff left with Inquisition art director Matt Goldman taking over as creative director. Okay, just a theory. When it says, well, some involved, some involved in the project's claim vision is at least partially to shape it. If they're talking about like the Tevinter spies or whatever. Like if they're saying that, oh well, some of the ideas are still around. Okay, they probably kept the same theme, like the Tevinter spy and everything, but they're gonna try and have like a team based raid system or a team-based heist system or something that involves you playing with other people, spending money on power-ups and gear and better drops and yada 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 yada, as opposed to making an RPG with great characters and a great story. Like BioWare's always been good at. Son of a bitch. I'm sorry. Is it not obvious that I'm not in a good mood? If the report is accurate, Project Morrison is Dragon Age 4, The Dead Wolf Rises. That's a really kick-ass name. Dragon Age 4 was teased at the Game Awards 2018, accompanied by a BioWare blog post. Nearly a year before Dragon Age 4 was teased, BioWare's Casey Hudson said the next Dragon Age game would be a live game, explaining, quote, I think you'll be relieved to see what the team is working on, story and character focus. Too early to talk details, but when we talk about live, it just means designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story, end quote. See, but that's not what live means anymore. I think that this is one of those that he's saying live before it's really come to mean what it means now, which when you say a live game, you think The Division, you think Destiny, you think Anthem. You don't think, oh, here's a game that we're going to keep dropping story expansions. Or again, maybe this is my video game optimism talking, but I really hope that's what he meant, that they never intended Dragon Age to be Anthem or to be Destiny or to whatever. We'll have a 6-second video at the time. There's a surprising amount of info packed into Dragon Age 4's teaser. Yeah, there was a lot of people reading into that teaser that we saw at the Game Awards. Geez, we're almost a half an hour in, and all I've done is just rant about just random shit. All right, moving on. Dragon Age 4's cool original concept featured spies, heists, says report. Article Eden Boudreau. I think that's how it is. Article on PC Gamer. Like I said, I think this one's going to be a lot of the same things, but again, just because I want to make sure that we cover everything about this, so I thought multiple similar articles was a good way to do this. Just a week after Kotaku's exclusive report on the troubled development of Anthem, it's published a follow-up investigation on the next Dragon Age game. And while BioWare and EA teased what's almost certainly Dragon Age 4 at the Game Awards in December, Kotaku's reporting indicates it's a completely rebooted vision. The original Dragon Age 4 was scuttled, and the sad thing is it sounds amazing. According to Kotaku's report, the original version of Dragon Age 4 was codenamed Joplin, was ramping up into the pre-production phase at BioWare in 2015, following the launch of Inquisition's final expansion, Trespasser. Dragon Age veterans Mark Zara, Laidlaw, working on concepts for the sequel, talking lessons learned from what sounds like a brutal production schedule of Inquisition. The concepts that emerged initially sound exciting. The idea was the game would center on spies working in Thedas' oldest human nation, Tevinter. In Dragon Age fiction, its country ruled by a council of mages, headed by an imperial archon. According to the news reports, gameplay was meant to be reactive and emergent, with action sequences called heists making up a sizable amount of the action. A central idea was for the world to genuinely react to players' choices. The developer wanted to build, quote, systematic narrative mechanics, end quote, or a way for a game to build a coherent story around the choices you make in the game. That may be one reason that in 2017, BioWare brought in Alexis Kennedy, the founder of Fail Better Games, and the writer behind Sunless Sea and Fallen London. Honestly, after looking at Sunless Sky, what is it? I think it's called Sunless Skies. That game looks really dope. Kennedy's games, including the recent Cultist Simulator Let's Players. He did Cultist Simulator too. I heard good things. Weaved together bits and pieces of story and lore into narratives based almost entirely on choices. I've tried to watch Let's Plays of it, but it's something about it I don't think aids itself to the Let's Play format. It was an ambitious and compelling vision, and one of the former BioWare developers told Kotaku were, quote, some of the best work experiences, unquote, they'd had in the industry. But in October 2017, says the report, BioWare and EA canceled the project. My guess, it was mostly EA. It remains to be seen what kind of game Dragon Age 4 winds up looking like, and even Kotaku sources admit they aren't sure what the Dragon Age team originally envisioned, for it sure sounds like a remarkable game, though as one developer remarked, quote, I'm sad that game will never get made, end quote. Hopefully whatever the Dragon Age is, it has a chance of ending up in our roundup of best RPGs of all time. I highly doubt that if the IGN articles right. I mean, again, like I said, this gave us most of the same stuff there. But again, I want to make sure that we're hammering the points home. Yeah, I'll before I start ranting again, let's just hop into this last one. Rumors about the next Dragon Age spark fears it'll be another Anthem. I'm not surprised. Article by Andy Chalk, also a PC gamer. A new Kotaku report on the history and current status of the next Dragon Age game reveals old plans for an ambitious and intriguing RPG codenamed Joplin that would have prioritized, quote, choice and consequence, end quote, rather than simplistic fetch quests in a game world smaller than Dragon Age Inquisition, but deeper and more reactive. Alas, that vision of the game allegedly fell victim to the old double whammy of Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. In its place, according to the report, is a rebooted game intended to be a better fit with Electronic Arts' mandate to develop, quote, games as service, end quote, which evolve and can be monetized for years after their initial release. Instead of using the tools and pipelines established for Dragon Age Inquisition, as was originally planned, the rebooted game, codenamed Morrison, was built on Anthem's codebase and will feature a live service component built from long-term gameplay and revenue, end quote, something that did not figure into Joplin. Well, I mean, again, well, hell, we're looking at another failed thing right here in this video. This is Fallout 76. And if you want to tell me that Fallout 76 was not a failure, well, what are we looking at the same game? And the game is played with technical issues and people getting banned and people hating it. I honestly, I've not talked to a single person that has enjoyed it. Or, like, truly enjoyed it. I know there are people out there, but still, overall, you cannot tell me Fallout 76 was a smashing success. Or even, I would argue, even a success. I think that one paragraph says so much right there, talking about the live service component, the term, as I like to describe the genre, games as service. Games like The Division, Anthem, Destiny, all that. That's how I like to describe them over loot shooter, because I think game as service touches more on it than anything else. And you know what? I'll refresh something that I've said about this games as service model. I've said for the longest time, look, games as service are going to run into a similar problem that MMOs run into. Or competitive multiplayer games run into. They're going to run into the same issue. And that issue is that for these games to succeed, you need concurrent logins. You need people on the servers playing and being matched up together to play with each other. I mean, that's the entire point of stuff like, again, to use MMOs, probably one of the most popular MMOs ever. Let's use World of Warcraft. Sorry, give me a second. To remove my cat from a desk. It's stuff like World of Warcraft. You need people constantly logging in into the servers and playing. That's how these games make money, and how these games, how these games thrive. You need people logging in, and not just logging in every day. That's why flooding the market with competitive multiplayer games, with games as service games, with MMOs, doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, I understand. I mean, why do you think nobody tried to compete with Overwatch in that whole hero shooter kind of concept? I think people were. I mean, we've seen bits and pieces of like that hero shooter concept come out with a few multiplayer games here and there, but nothing that's been truly what Overwatch was. Mostly because Overwatch came out and spanked Battleborn and became such a massive hit, and as long as it has, I think it's died down a little bit. I think the love for that game has died down a little bit, but that's to be expected. I'm sorry, I kind of got off topic a little bit there. There's a reason nobody tried to fight for that spot, because that's a market that has a very limited base. I think a lot of these games, mostly because you cannot play. It's really hard to play multiple of those games at once, because, like I said, they're built on playing every day for multiple hours. Like, that would require you to play multiple hours of The Division, multiple hours of Anthem, multiple hours of this, all in one day, because you're launching 5 or 6 of them a year. No, this market it basically has room, because you always see this happen. Again, like Overwatch, it became the dominant. World of Warcraft, for the time, I don't know what it is now in MMOs, because really I don't care, was the dominant. Destiny, and in my opinion, I'd say it's The Division 2 right now. I think, or at least in terms of quality, The Division 2 is the standout in these games of service model games. You have the one standout, the one thing that people love, and honestly, Ubisoft, I think it has the right model for this. They're mixing paid and unpaid DLC with that game. They're trying to keep people coming back, and I think that's a great way. I think Ubisoft's actually trying to make money as opposed to forcing it's trying to earn the money, not trying to make you spend money, if that makes sense. They're trying to make something good so you want to buy it, as opposed to, we're going to put something out there that's going to make you spend money whether you like it or not. That's what I think that, I wish I wouldn't have hidden that somewhere. I wish I wouldn't have hidden that at like the 35-minute mark, because I actually like that way of describing it. Sorry, I got off track here. Again, what I'm saying about these games are, there's a limited market, and you're trying to flood it with so many games that really people will pick one. If you ask me, there's so much, how to put this, you're going to get more people to buy in if you drop just a normal Dragon Age game, rather than a game that has this, like I said, this game's a service model, which, again, like I said, there's so much competition in there right now, because so many people are making these games. I mean, again, Ubisoft, I talked about Ubisoft. I mean, they've got The Division 2, but I'm also going to, while on one hand, they're doing good things with The Division 2, let's not necessarily give them a full pass here, because they've also got Skull and Bones, The Crew. Okay, what else is there? Skull and Bones, The Crew. There's like 2 or 3 more that Ubisoft has done, just of different genres. So, again, they don't get a full pass here, but I will say their model for The Division 2 is at least, probably, their sales model is a little better. I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted off the main point that I'm trying to make here. Either way, I'm just saying, it makes no sense to constantly be releasing these games, because basically you're saying, because these games, are like they're saying here, are made to hold people's attention for long after they've come out. Well, okay. But you're making popcorn. You're making little bite-sized games like Anthem. You spend $60, but honestly, I could see once the next, if another game like Anthem came out like a month later, I'd stop playing Anthem and play the new one. It's just you're making games that are just so quickly consumed and just kind of doesn't get their hooks in people, and people abandon it. So who cares if you're designing it for the long run? Because people aren't sticking with it in the short runs. And there's another thing. I've totally lost track of my point here. The long and short of it is, you're trying to make so many. One company's trying to make so many games in a genre that frankly can only support one major release and have like 2 or 3 little ones that feed alongside it. That's basically what I'm trying to get into. I'm sorry, that was a weird chunk of sentences. It's not clear how much of the original idea will be inherited by the new game, but the report notes that Mike Laidlaw, the creative director on Dragon Age series up to that point, left BioWare shortly after the reboot. BioWare general manager Casey Hudson said in early 2018 that the game will be story and character focused. However, that describing it as live simply means designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story. Well, maybe that's, or end quote, sorry. Maybe that's what he wanted in early 2018. But 1, that's sure as hell not what live means anymore. And 2, maybe that was before EA got their hooks into it. Because I don't, in all honesty, I don't put this on BioWare. Even though I think EA is using BioWare and using them as a sacrificial lamb. I don't necessarily put this blame on BioWare. Because with Anthem, I've said this multiple times about Anthem. I think BioWare had a really cool single-player idea that EA wanted to turn into a multiplayer thing. I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly how it went down, but that's just my speculation. Because, again, it makes no sense that out of nowhere BioWare's like, hey, we want to do this live online sort of game and come up with this concept that, in my opinion, would work really well as a single-player game. I'm just saying. So either way, you hear him describe live, and then designing a game for continued storytelling and after the main story, fine, but that's not what EA wants to do. Sadly, that doesn't fit into EA's model. Because that's not what EA wants to do. EA doesn't want to continue storytelling. They want to continue making you spend money. Again, it comes back to that thing of what I said earlier. Like what Ubisoft's doing with the Division 2. It's the difference between trying to say, hey, here's cool stuff. We're gonna try and convince you to spend money. The way it should be. That you're gonna spend money on this because we made something really cool. Whether or not you like the idea of DLC, that's a different discussion. But you know what? They're at least doing it the right way of saying, hey, look, we made this cool expansion, spend money on it. Well, while EA is kind of doing the, hey, you want to be competitive or you want to keep playing this game? We're going to make you spend money whether you like it or not. Again, it's like I said, it's the difference between trying to get you to spend money by being good and just sitting back and saying, well, you're going to do it anyways. Kind of like what was it? What was that South Park episode when the town was trying to change their what were they? Were they trying to change their ISPs or something? And then you had all the guys sitting there just rubbing their nipples over their shirts, going, sucks, doesn't it? Oh, we're the only one in town. It's shit like that. That's what it sounds like EA is doing right now. Let's see here. Bear in mind that Dragon Age 4, or whatever it ends up being called, is still very early in development, and none of this is carved in stone. Please, dear God, right the ship. Some BioWare staff have reportedly described Morrison as, quote, Anthem with Dragons, and, quote, sorry, just vomited a little bit. But others say that's not an accurate description. One source told Kotaku that the main story would be designed as a single-player experience, while multiplayer would aim to keep players coming back for post-release content. Look, honestly, if we get that, hell, I can deal with that, in all honesty. Although that sounds more like a conventional DLC model or like Mass Effect's multiplayer, yeah, rather than a game-of-service game like Anthem or Apex Legends. See, I agree with that. And like I said, if it's that conventional DLC model, frankly, I don't care. That's games that's just a game nowadays. I really don't care if that's what they're going with. Or even the Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer, even though I really didn't dabble in it, whatever. It didn't suck, but it was mostly just horde mode. And let's be entirely honest, it was mostly horde mode. It didn't bother me. I just never used it. I would have rather they made the single player a little better, but whatever. And again, it's like I said, the conventional DLC model, I can deal with that. And if that's what they do, great. But also, it's like they said, that's not how they're making it sound. It sounds like EA's trying to force that game as service model and make it more like Anthem and less like that traditional DLC model. So again, it's one of those, this is still early, but I'm just saying, it's not looking good. The amorphous state of the next Dragon Age was emphasized by the teaser that appeared at the Game Awards at the tail end of 2018, which didn't even mention the series by name. A live game of sorts seems likely. Why else build it on Anthem? But it's clear that we're still a long way from specifics. One current employee summed up the current situation very aptly, quote, I know it's going to change like 5 times in the next 2 years, end quote. Hopefully BioWare returns to form in time. Its games feature prominently in our list of the best RPGs of all time. It's like I've been saying about EA basically using BioWare as the sacrificial lamb. I honestly think that I kind of said this about Anthem, and I think Anthem did okay enough, or was not as much of a dumpster fire as to kill the company. But you know what? If they screw up, I gotta say this. I was thinking there's no way they're gonna screw up a Dragon Age game. But somehow it looks like they're gonna do it. Like this is one of those that I think they'd have to try to screw this one up. And it looks like they're trying. I just don't get it, man. And again, this is gonna kind of go into what I was talking about in the industry. Me and Brian Gade. I was gonna quote this comment, but I forgot to grab some of the quotes I was gonna do. One of my recent Anthem videos. checking out around the time that this video came out. And me and him were going around in the comments, and he did this massive kind of his own little rant on this. But he brought up some things in the industry that's really kind of been that kind of made me go, he makes a good point here and there. I mean, he mentions the 2K thing, and it's like I said, companies try and make money, and I get that. But at the same time, but it's also like I said earlier, at some point you got to admit that you make more money by entertaining people than pissing people off. And though he did say something really interesting to me. He said he thinks that a majority, I think it was something along the lines of a majority of gamers nowadays don't fall into this hardcore category that I'm gonna use myself as an example. He's like, most people probably play 1 to 2 games a year. Or, maybe not 1 to 2. I'd guess more than 1 to 2. I'd say 3 to 5, but, we not a whole. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but hell, I can play 3 to 5 new games a month in a big release month. I'll play 3 to 5 games a month, not a year. So I think he makes a good point with that. I think he makes a good point saying that a majority of gamers probably don't play every game that comes out. They don't play all this stuff. They aren't engrossed in the news like maybe you or I are. So maybe some of this stuff is just kind of slipping by. People aren't really realizing what these companies are doing. And that's a good point, because frankly, we're seeing this in so many different ways. I mean, with Dragon Age and Anthem, and like I said, like we were talking 2K. I mean, we're seeing this from a business, from this weird kind of business microtransaction side. Then we're seeing some weird things happen elsewhere in the industry. I mean, for one, another controversy that I really haven't talked about, because I don't think it's really grown into anything until very recently. But in all honesty, I'm trying to think how to put this. If anybody's been following what's going on with Mortal Kombat 11. People are really getting pissed off at the game, because if you look at some of the character models, they're I'm trying to think how best to say it. Like look at Katana's, or is it Katana? I think it is Katana. The blue ninja chick. Oh my god. I know I'm a bad Mortal Kombat fan. You look at her costume now. You look at her character model, and it looks like a boy wearing a conservative katana costume. Like what the hell? Like they've dialed her back in so many different ways. It's like I say, you see it with a lot of the female characters that they look like dudes. It's weird. And some people want to tell me, oh well, they're trying to make them more realistic looking. Great, but that's never been what Mortal Kombat's been. Too, there's Johnny Cage throwing his weird green fireballs at people throwing actual fireballs at people with like Baraka mouths, which that was the pink one, wasn't it? Whose name always escapes me. She had the Baraka mouth. Okay, Mortal Kombat's not been one of those games that I've ever said has been one for realism, and it's just weird to me, because this isn't NetherRealm Studios' first or Mortal Kombat game, because their last one, even though the character models still might have been dialed back a little bit, some of the female character models might have still been made a little bit more conservative, still weren't bad. They were good. You could tell, the men from the women. You could tell the hot chicks. All that stuff's still there. And I've had people also try and sell me on, they're trying to sell it to a wider audience, so they're trying to dial back the sexiness of the women. And I'm sitting there going, but that makes no sense. Why? Because you might be doing that, but you also got to know you're going to lose a chunk of your audience, because so many people are going to be seeing that and go, why the hell are you doing this? It's I don't want to say that they're playing the game because of the hot women, because frankly, that's not why I play it. It's definitely a plus, but it's not why I play Mortal Kombat. I play Mortal Kombat because I like the violence. But that's not what you step back on. You want more people to play Mortal Kombat, and I'd think one of my favorite fatalities. I know I'm kind of going around in circles, and this isn't making much sense, but one of my favorite fatalities is the what's his name? I believe his name's Kenshi. He's the blind swordsman who, with telekinetic powers, lifted his sword up in the air, spun it like a saw blade, and fed somebody into it. Like, if you want to make more people into Mortal Kombat, maybe dial that shit back before you dial back the hot women. And I mean, that's not just a Mortal Kombat either. I mean, it's new to Mortal Kombat, but what? Dead or Alive's been doing this? I think, like, Soul Calibur is the only one of the last few bastions that's still just going, you know what? We are what we are. Our game's always had hot women in it. We're still about being a good fighting game. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. I think you grab people by making your game good. You don't grab people by saying, look, we dialed back the sexiness of the women. I think that's a move to try and please, a way to please activists and a way to please, in all honesty, a lot of the gaming press. Let's be entirely honest. That's a move to get a lot of the gaming press. Now, again, you want to tell me, AJ, are you saying you won't play Mortal Kombat 11? No, I'll play Mortal Kombat 11. I'm just saying I don't get the decision. I don't think you're going to make more. You're going to make more money by doing it. It just seems like you're causing a controversy and pissing off fans for no reason. It makes no sense to me. Kind of like, to bring it back to our main point, it's kind of like what we're talking about here with Dragon Age. It seems like you're just pissing off fans for no reason. I don't get it. It doesn't. How is that a good business decision? Because I always think that money and, if a business is looking to make money, maybe pissing off your fan base isn't a good plan. And again, going back to the Mortal Kombat thing, you had to know. Dialing back a lot of these female characters is... And hell, you know what? I'm not even going to do the whole, if you can sexualize... why can you sexualize the men characters and not do it with the women? Look, I'm not going to make that argument, even though technically I agree with that argument, because I think if one person can be objectified, everyone can be objectified. That's what fucking equality is. I don't understand that shit, but... Again, we're gonna push that to the back. I'm saying here, bringing up the point that, look, this decision was gonna piss people off. When frankly, you could do it like you always did it, and sure, there might still be the people, you know what I mean. The gaming journal, the journalist at Polygon's gonna say something that is some random blogger on the internet saying, but you're hell, I've even said this. I think, the people, a lot. I mean, I say this a lot about a lot of activists who talk about video games. Honestly, I don't think a lot of them play most of the games they complain about, or that they say need to change. I don't think they play most of them. And again, it's like I said, it's peculiar to me why you change it on the fans. I mean, Sony's even getting some of this stuff with they're bringing certain Japanese games over to the West, but they're pulling out just chunks of games. They're pulling out chunks of the game. They're censoring chunks of the game. And I mean, I guess you could argue by, you can make the argument that they're doing it for a legal decision because, they're pulling out the sexy anime girls in certain bits and pieces. But at the same time, my counter argument to that would be, yeah, there's a lot of other, like, way worse shit out there from, from Japan that you can, there's a lot way worse shit that's still legal. You don't have to censor it. I don't get why. Just release the game and people will buy it. Sure, I'm sure there are people who will complain, but who cares? They probably weren't going to buy it anyways. I don't get it. You're knowingly... You were going to make sales, and then people heard, oh, you're pulling this stuff out of it? Well, then why am I playing the game? I don't want it. See, it's like I said... You're making a decision that's going to lose money. Why? To please some people who weren't going to play it anyways? That makes no sense. I get it. Sony's its own company. Sony can make that decision to censor this bit of the game when they bring it to the West. But I don't get why you do it. It makes no sense. It's like I said, go look on the internet. Well, I mean, if you're under the age of 18, don't, because that's... your young eyes aren't old enough to see some of this stuff. There's much worse stuff that came out of Japan that's still legal. I mean, the whole Araga game is way worse than some of the stuff that's coming out on the PS4 that's getting censored. So it makes no sense. Hell, one of the big one that's getting me is the fact that I still can't play a Western version of Dead or Alive Extreme 3. I mean, yeah, technically I can import the game, and there is an English track on the imported version because the PlayStation 4 isn't region locked. Yes. But I have to import it still. I can't just go to a GameStop and buy it. I can't just buy it off my PlayStation Store. I have to fucking go online and import the game. And yet you want to tell me, oh, AJ, that's a game for perverts. Yeah, it's why I want to play it. Come on. Where most of us are adults here. Son of a bitch. I know. I'm kind of getting away from my point. I'll bring this all together home before we close. But I mean, hell, Dead or Alive Extreme 3. It's getting a re-released version. It's adding a character. I think it's adding Kasumi. Yeah, I've researched this. It's adding a new character. It's coming to the fucking Switch, and it's still not coming west. Like, think about that, people. It went to a fucking Nintendo platform before it came to the West. The fucking kind of world are we living in? I'm sorry, yes, this entire video has been leading up to me being able to complain the fact that it went to a Nintendo platform. Again, it's like I said, it's just, there's money to be made. Why? I mean, hell, even if you're just going to say we aren't going to release a physical edition here, here, Western people with PlayStation in the West, here, Dead or Alive Extreme 3, you can download it. You can buy it and download it. Fine. Don't pay for the production and distribution of discs. Release it digital only. Why not? I think there's enough people that would play it. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, hell, it's already got the English track. You just need to release it to the West. You don't even have to. Again, maybe this is my misunderstanding of how easy that situation is. Again, it's just all of these small things, like on their own. Dead or Alive Extreme 3. What's happening to Mortal Kombat? Maybe what this is. I think this is a larger issue than everything else I'm talking about. But I'm just bringing up these little bits and bobs. Kind of what I was talking about. I'm bringing this all. I'm bringing this all together now. Okay. Again, you might disagree with me on the Mortal Kombat thing. You might disagree with me on the Sony censor, whatever, and the Dead or Alive thing. Look, okay, let's bring this all together, though. There's a lot of peculiar things going on in the gaming industry right now, and I can't figure it out. Maybe again, it's this optimistic side of me that's hoping that everything's going to work out, and that we're just kind of going through a time right now in video games, and all kind of like the 90s during the moral panics and all that during the 90s. Maybe and everything's going to fix itself, but I don't know, man. Part of me's thinking that won't happen. Part of me's thinking that. I don't know anymore, man. I'm trying to make a broader point, but I don't know what the point is necessarily. I'm afraid for what video games are going to become, that people are going to censor them into oblivion, make them into something that's purely about being money and not about entertaining people, taking the art out of it. That's all about. It's like I said, all of these things. It's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts. It's going to be a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit here. And I think it's going to kill the industry at some point. I think more and more of these people in the middle who are still going to play Mortal Kombat and not hear about this controversy of the character models, who are still going to play the next Dragon Age and then find out it's a live game, who are going to play this, that, the other thing, and then find out that, oh, this sucks. I think more of them are going to figure stuff out. I think we're heading to a crossroads. I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know necessarily what the breaking point's going to be, but yeah, maybe my point is there is no point. Maybe my point is, look, there's a lot of weird shit going on in gaming right now. There's a lot of weird controversies. More so now than I think I've really noticed in the past. Maybe I'm more aware of it now than I was back then, or what. But it's like I said, a lot of weird shit in my opinion that just doesn't seem to be companies which I think it all kind of can be put into the category of companies are making decisions not based on players' wants, but only money. I think maybe this is my optimism here, but you'd think that the goal for these companies are to merge making money with players' wants, so the players are happy, the consumers are happy, and you're making money. I think that's what it is. But then, like I said, Sony's pulling out, losing sales for games that they're bringing over to the West, but they're losing sales from it. Mortal Kombat's already, I know, lost sales because of what they're doing. Because a lot of people have just set off the principle of things. Look, they're saying, look, it's not necessarily that you're taking the boobs out of video games, but are you kidding me? You're trying to sanitize this medium. And also, if it's about the objectification of people, it's you got a lot of work to go. It's not just Mortal Kombat and video games. But I know a few people in real life who aren't going to play the game because of these reasons. Because they're very, very strong principle on this whole look. Why are you changing something that's always been a part of this franchise? They don't get it, and to a degree, I don't either. And then we get into this. It seems like companies are trying to lose money, and I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there can explain it to me. Maybe somebody smarter than me can explain why it's a good decision. I don't know. If you could make a sense of anything that I was talking about here, please go into the comments and tell me. Thanks for watching, guys. Facebook, Twitter, the website, minds.com. Links that stuff is down in the description below. Like, comment, you're not already. Please subscribe to the channel. This video was way longer than I intended it to be. And definitely expect a more traditional news style video tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and until next time, my name's AJ Gill. This is Something Gaming Channel. If I didn't say, the social media is in the description, along with links to the articles. And like, comment, you're not already. Please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'm out.